I should be writing number 478 for Wednesday, January 29th, 2020.
Well, I should be writing. I should be working on my craft. I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft. But I'm sitting home watching Doctor Who.
Hi there, welcome to I Should Be Writing, the podcast for wannabe fiction writers. I'm your host, Mur Lafferty. Somebody from the Patreon asked me a question recently, and I think it would be good to do a short episode on. They asked me what I thought of The War of Art. The War of Art is an interesting book. It's taking a lot of stuff from The Art of War and approaching creativity with it, but I listened to it or read it several years ago and really got a lot out of it. And then I came back and reread it recently, and I had a different opinion. And I'm starting to get kind of jaded when it comes to self-help books by guys. And the reason is this: the self-help books by guys are almost always for guys. If you ask them this, they'll say, no, it's for everybody. But they don't take into account the things women go through. For example, telling us how much a famous author in olden times got done per day means nothing to me, because I will bet everything I have that that famous author was not caring for children at the time. Somebody recently had a online screed about they didn't know why people always brought up the fact that Thoreau took his laundry 2 miles home for his mother to do, while they didn't focus on the laundry of any other great author in history. And I'm like, no other great author in history said that they were going to go be self-sustaining in a forest and live alone. Thoreau was able to do everything he did because his mother was down the road taking care of him. He was able to think such great thoughts because he didn't have to worry about laundry. And so many people overlook this. And yes, I know fully that there are men who care for children, and there are men who do laundry, and there are men who share 50% of the household chores, but it's still not the majority. And it's almost never these guys who do self-help books. So if you want to do me a self-help book about creativity that also includes things like childcare and laundry and meal planning and cooking, that's the one I want to see. One of the questions I get the most is, so I've got young children and I really want to be a writer. What do I do? Now that's a real question. That's a question I can identify with, at least. I like the stories about the parents who put their infants in cars and drove around until the infant fell asleep, and then they sat in their car and they wrote. When my daughter was getting too old for nap time, I decided I liked that free time in the afternoon to write. And so I decided to tell her, okay, if you don't sleep, it's still quiet time. And I made her stay in her room. She could sleep or not sleep, whatever. And I still had my time. I know not every kid is the same, but it worked for me. But yeah, I'm getting more and more jaded with the self-help books that don't actually take into account a lot of the things that most women deal with. The guys who do the tough love self-help books, the whole get over it BS, I can guarantee you they've never experienced sexism, racism, sexual harassment, any of that stuff. And I'm sure they're thinking that if they did, they'd just get over it. So I read The War of Art with a grain of salt these days, because that advice is not universal. And if it works for you, great. If it works for you and you're a woman, great. If it works for you and you're a man, great. But it's not working for me anymore. And I'm having a kind of anxious day, so I'm going to end it there. Check out murverse.com if you want to learn more about me. If you want to support the Patreon, patreon.com/mightymur. And I'll see you tomorrow, and you should be writing. Remember, you can support the show at patreon.com/mightymur. I Should Be Writing's theme music provided by John Anelio. You can find more about him at johnanelio.com. This podcast is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike license.
But I should